What's going on, guys? It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. This is week 14. We got obviously our going is suiting up. I would expect that this is going to be relatively low scoring. I think you can pretty safely take the under, even though it's pretty low already. Both defenses are in play. I think if you have any of the pass catchers in this game, including Calvin Ridley, Amari Cooper, I would be looking elsewhere if I can. But totally understand if you need to play those guys. Just very worried about that game. And the other game that I'm most concerned about from a weather standpoint is going to be the Ravens and the Rams. The last time Matthew Stafford played in the rain was 2017. He's 1-5 in his career in the rain, 10 to 12 touchdown interception ratio. Really has never been a great performer in the rain at all. And this should be a really high win, rainy game against one of the best defenses in the NFL. So I'd certainly expect relatively low production out of the entire Rams passing attack. It's okay to bench Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua if you can. I talked about in a video earlier this week that I benched Cooper Kupp for Ezekiel Elliott in one of my leagues. Obviously, that worked out. Not obviously, but looks like that's what's going to have worked out. So that's just sort of where we're at with the Rams and all that. But other than that, I think all the weather's going to be mostly okay. We should have some high winds and a bit of rain for the Bears and Lions, but nothing that's too crazy there. So just those two games are the ones I'm really worried about. I'll get into some injury updates. I'm going to just go game by game here. For the Falcons, Mac Hollins, he's questionable to play. It sounds like he might suit up. Doesn't really mean anything. Maybe a little bit of a lower ceiling for Drake London, but doesn't really concern me. Drake London, I still think is a good play this week. For the Panthers, Hayden Hurst, he's going to be inactive today. We don't know if he'll suit up again this season. Hoping he gets better soon. He's dealing with some post-traumatic amnesia after a really bad hit he took. So hopefully he's all right, but not going to play this week. We might not see him the rest of the season. Doesn't mean a whole lot for true fantasy value, but it does mean we'll probably see a little bit more of a consolidation of targets to guys like Jonathan Mingo and Adam Thielen. Equinemius St. Brown, he's going to be out for the Bears. Again, not a really fantasy relevant player. You're probably just looking at DJ Moore and nobody else. Maybe Cole Kmet as well for the Bears. For the Bengals, Tyler Boyd, he's going to be active in this one. He did tweak his ankle in practice. Doesn't mean a whole lot for me. I still think T. Higgins is like a low-end flex play. Obviously, you can play Ja'Marr Chase, and I'm not looking at anyone else for the Bengals. Mark, you need one. Noah Brown, Zay Flowers, or JSN. I think I'd go Zay Flowers here. Noah Brown, I do like him going forward the rest of the season, but it's a really tough matchup with the Jets. And on top of that, the weather is still not supposed to be great for that one either. I know it's not as bad as some of the other games I talked about, but I'm still going to be a concern there. And then JSN does look like he's sort of coming into his own, but there's just a good shot. We see a guy like Drew Lock at helm for the Seahawks this week. Obviously, doesn't get me super excited. I know Drew Lock did sort of hyper target JSN in the limited snaps he had, so there is a chance there, but this is a really tough Niners defense, and you could have a backup quarterback. So I think I'd just go Zay Flowers. Should get a lot of targets close to the line of scrimmage. He should be relatively safe even with that weather. Moving on, Amari Cooper, he's going to be active. I talked about that earlier. Clear concussion protocol last night. Should be Joe Flacco throwing him the ball. I would certainly prefer to not be playing Amari Cooper if I can avoid it, but I understand if you do need to play him. Just obviously, you're really hoping for one big play there, and I don't know how many targets downfield this entire game is going to have. So I'd like to avoid Amari Cooper if I can. Noah Brown, who I just talked about for Mark, going to be active today. He's going to join Nico Collins as like the number 2 pass catcher effectively in this offense. I'm expecting a lower scoring game in this one. I wouldn't really want to be playing a guy like Noah Brown. Should be a battle of two relatively good defenses. They're both playing great. Weather is not something that I'm excited about, so I think I'd prefer to look elsewhere than Noah Brown, but he's probably like a low-end flex play if you need him, but again, I'd prefer to look for another option. Dalton Schultz in that same game, he's going to be inactive. Just means Brevin Jordan is a decent flex or decent streaming option at the tight end position. Obviously, he did okay last week, 3 for 64. You'll take that out of the tight end position, and he's a talented player. He's athletic. He's going to operate as probably the number 3 pass catcher in this offense, maybe the number 4 behind Robert Woods, but the Jets do give it out to opposing tight ends, so if you want to play Brevin Jordan in a streaming format, I think you can do that. I think you could do a lot worse there for sure. Next up, we got for the Colts, Jonathan Taylor. He's going to be out. Obviously, no surprise here. We weren't expecting him to play. Zach Moss, fire him up. It's a good matchup for them against the Bengals. I think he'll be really solid play, even though he did let a lot of people down last week. Trevor Lawrence, I talked about him earlier. He's going to be active. We'll see if he's able to make it through the full game, but it sounds like he's feeling a lot better today than people were expecting. I bet he suits up, probably makes it through the whole game, but I expect him to be limited in terms of his mobility. Probably not able to throw it downfield as effectively. It is his plant foot, so he's probably not going to be able to get as much under some of these deep throws. Obviously, I don't think there will be a ton of deep pass attempts in this game anyway, so really low ceiling and low floor for Trevor Lawrence. I'm not playing Trevor Lawrence in any leagues, even if you have him. I'd prefer to stream guys like Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew. I would look elsewhere than Trevor Lawrence this week. Travis Etienne, he's going to be active. He was limited throughout this week in practice, but he's going to play. Don't worry about him. He's a low-end running back 1, probably a bit of like a high-end running back 2, to be honest, this game environment, but you can still play him for sure. Dearness Johnson is also banged up, but he's going to play as well. But I think we'll just see a lot of Travis Etienne and not a lot of anyone else. Next game, we've got the Rams. Tyler Higbee, he's going to be doubtful for today. Probably not going to play. Doesn't mean a whole lot for me. I think you're just looking at Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua both as like low-end starting options. Going to be a really gross game. And then obviously you could play a guy like Kyren Williams for sure. For the Saints, we got a lot to talk about here. Derek Carr, he is going to be active. He cleared concussion protocol. He's good to go. So we'll have Derek Carr. Not as exciting as it would be to watch Jameis Winston play a full game of football, but it is what it is. So we'll get Derek Carr there. Also active is going to be Chris Olave. He popped up on the injury report on Thursday, missed Thursday's practice with an illness. Sounds like he's still feeling a little bit under the weather, but he's going to give it a go. He'll play this game. That's actually going to be really huge for the Saints because both Rashid Shaheed and Taysom Hill are not going to play in this one. So it really is obviously Chris Olave and nobody else in the passing game. Alvin Kamara should have a huge game. You don't have to worry about those Taysom Hill vulturing of touchdowns at the goal line either. So I think Kamara probably finishes the week as like the RB1, to be completely honest. And then Chris Olave should see 8 to 10 targets just because he's the only one they can throw the ball to. And this Panthers defense, even though it has been bad again, or a bad matchup in theory for opposing wide receivers, just because teams can run on them so effectively, they win so easily, they don't need to throw the ball. We might see them throw a little bit more to sort of get Derek Carr some confidence back. We saw Mike Evans put up 150 plus yards against them last week. I think Chris Olave could still have a big day today. Then for the Jets, Breece Hall, he's going to be active here. Came up that he has been dealing with an injury of his ankle so far all week. He obviously was dealing with a hamstring injury last week as well. Really just hasn't been all that great, and this is a low-scoring environment. I wouldn't expect a great fantasy production out of Breece Hall this week, but they could still play him. He's going to low-end running back 2. I would just certainly expect a relatively low ceiling. You're hoping for one play to hit, but if he doesn't, he's probably going to average like 3 yards per carry, hopefully catch 3 or 4 passes and end up okay. But I think Breece Hall is just like a low-end running back 2 with upside because he can't always hit that big play. Getting into the later games, Dawson Knox for the Bills. It sounds like he's actually going to suit up this week. Still questionable, but sounds like he's going to be active for them. I don't think this means a whole lot. Obviously, if he's played, I do think he'll be healthy enough to play. It does obviously limit the upside of Dalton Kincaid a little bit, but I do still think you're playing Kincaid. It's a good matchup against the Chiefs. I say it's a good matchup. I know the Chiefs are a really great defense, but I'm just sort of expecting a shootout. It's the second highest over-under on the week, so there should be a lot of points available in this game. I think Dalton Kincaid will be able to get it done as well. He's like a low-end top 10 option for me. And outside of that, I think it's just going to be Stephon Diggs, James Cook, and then if you want to play Gabe Davis, you can in that game, but it's going to be obviously really hairy. But Gabe Davis could easily put up 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. He could also just goose you. So tough to know what to do with Gabe Davis every week, but I do think this is a good Gabe Davis week. Samaje Perine for the Broncos. He is going to be listed as questionable. It sounds like he might miss this game with a knee injury. Doesn't mean a whole lot, except I would just be even more excited about a guy like Javonte Williams. Really plus matchup against the Chargers. You're definitely playing Javonte Williams, and I don't think I'm going to Jaleel McLaughlin or anything, even if Samaje Perine misses. For the Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco, he's going to be out. Makes Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon both like low-end running back 2 or flex options for me. You'll probably see them split the work pretty evenly. Jerick McKinnon will get the pass-catching work. Clyde Edwards-Helaire will get the goal line work, and then the just general rushing work. I think they should both be picked up for sure, just because this is an injury that could be a little bit more long-term for Isaiah Pacheco. They did say they're not going to put him on IR, but the fact that they have to answer that question means we could be looking at like a 2 to 3 week injury. So for the next couple of weeks, I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be like a low-end running back 2, a guy you can start, and then Jerick McKinnon as well. We saw how well he performed last season, especially at the end of last season. He scored a lot of touchdowns. He's a guy that utilized near the goal line quite a bit. And honestly, if anything, this maybe just bumps Patrick Mahomes the most because they've been running the ball at the goal line a lot more than they have over the last several seasons. A lot of Patrick Mahomes' value in fantasy came from just their ability to do quick little short passes, cute little plays near the goal line, and get him those like 1-2 yard passing touchdowns. And he hasn't been getting those this season, but he could start getting them now. Could raise the ceiling for all the pass catchers in general in Kansas City. Justin Jefferson for the Vikings, he's going to return to action this week. Obviously, you're playing Justin Jefferson. He's Justin Jefferson, but just do know that we could see a quarterback change at some point in this game. They talked about potentially switching it up from Josh Dobbs during the bye week. They chose not to, but if Josh Dobbs were to throw a pick early in this game, we could see a situation where obviously Justin Jefferson is dealing with a new quarterback, but he's Justin Jefferson. I think you're playing him, you're playing TJ Hawkinson, and then Jefferson returning probably just lowers the ceiling of a guy like Jordan Addison the most. Makes me a little bit concerned about Addison, but I still think you're playing him as a really low-end flex play, but I hope you have a better option if you are considering Jordan Addison. I'm playing Brandon Cooks over Addison in the one league I have him, so that should help you guys a little bit. But I think Brandon Cooks is a really solid play this week as well. Geno Smith, he's going to be questionable this week. I sort of expect us to see Drew Lock, to be completely honest. It's a true game time decision. They called up Sean Mannion from the practice squad, so the Seahawks have made a lot of moves to make it seem like we're not going to see Geno Smith today. I would expect them to see a lot of Drew Lock today. That's obviously really bad for every single player involved for Seattle. Kenneth Walker, he's questionable, as well as Zach Charbonnet. We'll see what happens there. I think they're both going to be game time calls. I would personally prefer to sit both of them regardless of what happens, but I understand if you need to play one of them. If Kenneth Walker's active and Charbonnet's inactive, I think you can play Walker as a low-end running back 2. If Charbonnet's active and Ken Walker's inactive, I think you can play him as a low-end running back 2. If everybody's active, I think I just want to bench all of them for sure. Larry, PPR, James Cook, or Breece Hall. I'd go James Cook here. They've been using him out of the backfield as a pass catcher quite a bit. They've had a lot of success doing that. And on top of that, they're probably going to run a lot more 2 tight end sets this week. Now they'll have Dawson Knox back. Should help their running game a little bit as well. So they should be a little bit better at running the ball. I think James Cook's going to be clearly involved as a pass catcher. I think he's a really safe play, and Breece Hall could just totally burn you with just how banged up he is, how inefficient he's been. Obviously, Breece Hall could always hit a 50, 60-yard touchdown, but I think James Cook's a much safer play, so I'd definitely go James Cook there. And then lastly, Elijah Mitchell. He's going to be doubtful today. It doesn't mean a whole lot, but it does mean that Jordan Mason's the backup to Christian McCaffrey, and if you're in like a DFS format or something, you want to get cute with a guy like Jordan Mason. This game could be a blowout. We could see the Seahawks lose by 20-plus points here, so I could see a world where Jordan Mason ends up fantasy relevant this week, but there's no way I'm playing him in redraft or anything. So that's it for this. The actives and inactives, injury news, all the weather updates. So if you guys have any additional questions, feel free to let me know here. I'll have to stick around for like 30 seconds or so. If we don't get any questions for about 30 seconds, I'll hop out. And then if you guys do end up with any additional questions, you can always just let me know in the comments. I'll make sure I check the comments before the games kick off so I can get you guys an answer. Mark, Josh Kelly, or Dameon Pierce? That is not a fun decision. Oh, okay, so Josh Kelly should see a little bit more work this week because the coaching staff's been adamant that they might need to sort of mix up the backfield a little bit with just how poorly Austin Ekeler's been playing. That's obviously just coach speak, though. It's a little bit concerning for me. I really don't want to be playing Josh Kelly. The Broncos' defense has looked better lately. I know they're still not great against opposing running backs in the season, but I think I would go Dameon Pierce. He did get the most touches out of the backfield. He looked better last week than he has at any point so far this season. The Jets are a decent matchup for opposing running backs. So I think I would go Dameon Pierce, but certainly not fun. So I hope one of them falls. I hope he falls in the end zone for you because you need it. Cool. So yeah, I think that's going to be about it. Like I said, if any of you guys end up with any additional start sit questions, just let me know in the comments. I'll make sure I check everything before the games kick off. So I'll get back to you guys. And hopefully get you guys some wins this week. I really appreciate you guys, and let's get you guys into the playoffs. So thanks, guys, and good luck this week. Bye.